The Affordable Care Act, or as it's called, Obamacare, is a political reform act that has gone through Congress and is passed in 2012. Now, when focusing on the future, we see that this Affordable Care Act has one specific mandate within it that has sparked much controversy. Indeed, this mandate requires that employers, in fact, uh, provide their employees with the healthcare. And unfortunately, this has led many businesses to see themselves at foreclosure. The reason for this is because they can't afford it, and therefore, in the long term, this is costing more than it is saving. Also, we have to recognize that in recent times, what has happened is that the Affordable Care Act has seen itself within provisions that have been passed by the House and also the Senate. Indeed, these provisions state that businesses with 50 or more employees will have a 1 year extra to get themselves together, and this in itself has sparked much controversy. Therefore, it is imperative that we ask ourselves today's question, which is, does the Obamacare mandates that are being delayed spell doom for businesses, for employers? And the answer to this question is a clear yes for the following three reasons. First, because smaller businesses that do not have 50 or more employees believe that larger businesses have an unfair advantage. Secondly, because we're going to see that this is going to lead to rushed layoffs that are overall going to decrease productivity within America. And lastly, because we're going to notice that unfortunately many employees are not going to be using the Obamacare. Now first, what we're going to notice is that unfortunately when looking at the situation, smaller businesses believe that they're going to have larger businesses are going to have an unfair advantage, and indeed this has led to protests in Washington. According to an article published by the Washington Times, dated June 15th, 2013, we see that unfortunately when looking at these provisions that have passed the House 251 to 174, this has led to protests going on in the White House because they believe that they have the same problems going on that larger businesses do. And the reason for this is because smaller businesses can't manage that many employees. And indeed, holding 25 employees and making an income with $100,000 is significantly different, or they're significantly more difficult than managing a business that has 51 employees and is making millions. And therefore, it's clear that these businesses see themselves at fault. The smaller businesses don't have this advantage, and the larger businesses that do have 50% more are therefore not, or rather, therefore have the advantage that the smaller businesses do not. And this is only furthered by a Brookings Institution article dated just yesterday that unfortunately states that the smaller businesses, or rather, that this mandate is not prone to changing itself towards the situation. It's a one-size-fits-all type solution, and therefore we're going to see controversy, especially as businesses have different types of structure and different types of development. And therefore, because they have different types of development, this one-size-fits-all type approach towards this mandate is overall going to lead to significant problems within the near-time future. Secondly, what we're going to focus on is the fact that this is going to lead to rushed layoffs, and unfortunately, this is only going to hurt productivity in America. Now, this ideal has been cleared up by a report done by the New York Times dated July 16th, 2013. The report said, unfortunately, when looking at this situation, we clearly see that when focusing on this, many smaller businesses that don't have this type of time lapse are going to in fact see themselves pushing back They're going to have to make layoffs because they rushed layoffs, whereas larger businesses have time to plan and plan ahead. And indeed, according to a Pew Global Research poll dated May 16th, 2013, we see that this rushed layoff is going to decrease, or the Obamacare mandate itself is going to decrease productivity by 13% within the annually, and therefore, once these businesses start getting themselves together after several months, they're going to see themselves at a decline because the businesses haven't thrived. They've lost significant money, or whether they've lost a significant profit having to focus on these employees, and therefore, in the long term, this is only hurting the smaller businesses. Therefore, it is imperative that we understand that, unfortunately, when looking at the situation, it is going to spell doom for businesses simply because they do not have the time, smaller businesses, because they do not have the time and are going to have to rush layoffs that are overall going to decrease productivity. Lastly, what we're going to focus on is a situation going on between the fact that many employees are not going to be using this mandate. Indeed, according to a survey conducted by the Gallup poll dated July 6, 2012, it reports that when looking at this Obamacare mandate, 33% of all Americans who have an employee and do not own businesses and work as an employee believe that they are not going to use the they're not going to use the health care simply because they don't need it. And therefore, with such a significant portion of employees not using this is going to cause disruption within the near-time future. Furthermore, we have to understand that a simple solution towards this, brought to us by Thomas Friedman of the New York Times, dated January 6, 2013, is that we give them to people who want it and those who are asking for it. Although it may not be fair for the business owner themselves, they can decrease they can work on this through their own methods, and therefore it's clear that the answer to today's question.